It's really an honor to be here and to present to all. And I still remember that 2 years ago, I was in Moscow, and although unfortunately this time I cannot attend on site, but still it will be my great pleasure to talk on behalf of Dr. Wim Meester on the recent development for Scopus, and the presentation, or the title for today's presentation would be that Scopus as the trusted high quality data source. And we do have a quite intense agenda for the next 30 minutes. And that is, I will start with, again, the power of Scopus and some of the results, especially title selection result for Russian titles for content development for Scopus. And then I will say something about the publication malpractice and catching the bad journals, which really cost us a lot of effort for the past 1 or 2 years. And then later on, I will share with all on some recent development on open access filter and the preprint enrichment for the researcher profiles. And lastly, I will deliver some messages from my product manager colleagues on Scopus platform on the 2021 roadmap. And again, with 30 minutes, I really cannot zoom into details for example, for the content development or for the Scopus development. And you might, I think most of the attendees might already notice that our Scopus Only Day video are already online and linked to the to this conference. And anyone who is interested in any specific module, I would encourage you to look at them. And they are the 6-hour presentation on all the aspects of Scopus development, and especially on content, on our content selection advisory board experiences, on how to develop your journal and what we see as a good journal or the content development for Scopus. And yeah, without further ado, I will go straight into this power of Scopus with trusted coverage of high quality content. And most of you might already know that the power of Scopus is really to, whenever you're interested to look at the research output or the citation impact for various entities like the countries, regions, journals, researchers, universities, institutions, you can see them basically in seconds or at your fingertips. And via Scopus data and also some via our Scival tools, so you may even see hundreds of metrics around those different entities, which may really help you to make some high-value decisions. And here, what I listed is really the research output and citation impact from the BRICS countries, and that is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And what I encourage you all to look at is not only the absolute volume or the absolute number, like publication numbers or field-weight citation impact numbers, but also when you do the benchmarks, you need to look at also the trend, you know, how those numbers or those indicators evolve for the past 5 years, which might even more useful when you want to predict or when you want to make some decisions around those entities. And to be honest, it's still a bit unfortunate to see that if you look at the third figure, that the top 1% citation percentiles of the Russian research output is among the lowest for the BRICS countries. So, you know, such information may really help say the policymakers or the department head to think about the future directions or strategies about your research. And this is how Scopus aim at, or what is the Scopus vision and mission, is really to help the world of research make high value decisions with confidence. And our product development is really around this vision. But bear in mind that Scopus does not simply indicate its platform. Its data alone is used in various intelligence report or analysis, or those authoritative university rankings like Times Higher Education or QS. So it's it's not the Scopus platform alone, but it's really the data or the infrastructure or every content behind it that is used as the for those or evaluations or national assessment and assist all to make those high value decisions. And again, so how those contents are composed of, you might already know that Scopus is source neutral abstract and citation databases, and all its content is curated by the independent subject matter expert. And they are from more than 7,000 publishers, more than, I think currently more than 25,000 several titles, including journals, several books or trade journals. But also it also includes conference proceedings and books. And currently I think it should be more than 82 million items index, and also as well as 1.7 billion cited references dating back to 1970. And here you can see a further split down of the different types of content that already indexed in Scopus. That's the journal, conference, and books. And just to highlight a bit that these are from more than 7,000 publishers and more than 105 different countries in more than 40 different languages. And Russian, or Cyrillic is definitely one of the major languages we cover. And the whole database is updated daily. But if you split up those content by subject areas, you can see that for example, in social science alone, we've already indexed more than 10,000 journals out there. But this doesn't necessarily mean that we've covered a big proportion of the social science articles there. Actually, anyone who is interested in looking at the specific proportion of the articles indexed in certain subjects, you can use Scopus platform to do that. But I'm saying this is because many social science journals are actually not publishing say as many as the physical science journals with regards to the publications. But anyway, so besides the journals, we also index the conferences, which is mainly from the engineering, mathematics, physics, and computer science subject areas, because in those subject areas, researchers do care or do attend those conferences and publish their cutting edge works in those content types or in conference proceedings. And that's the reason why we want to cover more on that. And with regards to books, we are focusing on the social science and arts and humanities, again, which is a major research output for researchers working in social science, arts, and humanities subject areas. And then all those books, all those
Tréйси,
several publications.
Please, yes? Switch slideshow.
Okay. Sorry. Am I showing the correct one now?
Thank you very much. All is okay now.
Yes. Okay. Great. Sorry. And all titles indexing Scopus were selected or are being selected by this group of subject matter experts, and we call them as Content Selection and Advisory Board. And they are currently comprised of 17 subjects who is responsible for one or more subjects in making the final decisions for what to be indexed or what's not. And those board members are chosen for their expertise in specific subject areas, and many and almost all have the journal editor experience. And you might also notice that our subject chair, Dr. David Ru, shared his experience and how to develop your medical journal yesterday. And if you didn't attend that, again, I encourage you to listen to that. And all the subject chairs are selecting journals based on all the selection criteria described here. And you can, so basically it's in two phases. And the first phase, what we call as technical criteria, are mainly checked by our title evaluation team based in Amsterdam, and that is that your journal needs to be published only needs to publish peer-reviewed content, not only, and it needs to have English abstract, author affiliation information or titles, and then it needs to be published regularly with a registered ISSN number, and then you need your references to be translated to Roman script. And then lastly, you need to have a transparent announcement on the publishing ethics, which actually if your journal submits your proposals recently, you might notice we've already changed or update this publishing ethics statement to the 16-point statement developed by COPE and the other organizations. So do pay a little bit attention to that and really update your policies or announcement on your journal website. And what you do for the operational side of your journal, if you are preparing for title evaluation or for indexing Scopus. And another important or new trend we are discussing now is really to removing the Roman script reference bars, or for future titles you might not need to translate your references to Roman script, but this is in the middle of discussion, and I personally do hope that we will announce that after a decision is made. But again, this policy is really helping your journal to make your journal more, reader friendly to the global audience. And that might also help you, enhance a bit about your global visibility. So that's still what we definitely recommend, but it is highly possible that we will remove this technical criteria in the coming months. And then the 14 quantitative and qualitative selection criteria were developed together or established together among the Scopus team and the CSAB. So they are on journal policy, quality of content, journal standing, regularity, and online availability. Really, I don't have time to explain each one in details, but overall, I would like to share that that's actually what our subject chairs shared with me, is that they are looking for the high quality content journals with certain global visibility or global impact that can be indexed in Scopus. And if you are having your, say, new journals being launched, or you're also all working on a long-established journal still, that direction or that sharing can be something you consider. And here are the results of the suggested titles, accepted title, or rejected titles for the past 3 years, actually. And you can see that more than 1,200 journals were basically selected by our CSAB every year. But also, it is a bit unfortunate to see that from that orange line, you can see that the acceptance rate for titles being evaluated were actually declining. Last year, I believe it should be 44.1 something. And here you can see the Russian title evaluation result. It's great to see that our Russian journals have the great, how to say, enthusiasms in submitting their titles for evaluation and hoping to get indexed. And our acceptance rate, which is the red line, is actually in line with the global average. And for the number of submitted titles, it's exceeding 160 last year. And finally, about a bit over 60 titles got accepted, which means that for the past 3 years, we already accepted, I think, more than possibly a bit less than 200 Russian titles, so newly getting indexed in Scopus, which is really great news. And then if you look at the rest of the world, or the top 10 countries with the most titles evaluated with regard to the total numbers evaluated, Russian actually ranks 4th. And if you look at the number accepted title numbers, Russian still also ranks 4th, I believe, after United States, Switzerland, UK, and China. And then with that, I would like to say a bit about the Scopus mandate and authority. So you might notice that Scopus is really committed to creating a representative, curated data set of scholarly content. And we are also relying on certain local board members. And well, you might already know the Russian board led by Olga. And we do rely on them and to nominate or to recommend more high quality titles to us. And overall, our journal selection is really based on the journal level data and performance. And then we are also monitoring and deselect the journals that are predatory or below standards or Scopus standards, which I will jump into in a second. But then Scopus, there are also certain aspects that Scopus cannot interfere with, which is mainly the editorial autonomy of those journals. And these are really the journal's decisions, and Scopus cannot interfere that much or have very limited impact, which is the editorial decisions on the quality of individual articles, or even the scientific content, of the individual articles, or plagiarism of specific articles. And only those malpractices are happening on a structural basis. We will take some steps on it, and which I do realize I'm passing time, which then I need to jump into the second topic, is the publication malpractice and catching bad journals. We basically really, I think most people do realize that the predatory journal discussion or the predatory journal phenomenon itself is on a rise. But to be honest, it's nearly impossible to determine the extent, as they, first of all, they are dynamic, they appear and disappear continually. But also, even that, if you want to see the exact volume of that, it's quite hard, right? And the term predatory journals was coined by Jeffrey Beall in 2010, 10 years ago. And but unfortunately, Beall works with a binary classification, so meaning that a journal is either in or out, is either predatory or not. Decisions were not systematically explained back then, and because of certain things that there were really criticism for that, and the website were no longer maintained by Bill himself since January 2017. That's about 4 years ago. And you might also know that there are certain groups of researchers or even organizations are really doing researches on this topic. And we as Scopus are also definitely are aware of the issue. And 2 years ago in 2019, a group of researchers came to a sort of a consensus definition on the predatory journals, which means that the entities, and an important part of this statement is that those entities that either it's a publisher or it's a journal that prioritize self-interest at the expense of scholarship. And so what Scopus really does to address that issue, we do realize the issue, and we, together with our CSAB, we own the responsibility of curating content. And we do that on an ongoing basis as a defense against low quality or predatory journals. It's ongoing, it's not once or twice per year. It's as long as we have evidence or have proof that this journal is sort of below our benchmarks or below a certain threshold, we are taking some actions. And then actually we've been addressing the issue for some years, and together with CSAB, we are developing this process of continuous monitoring and reevaluation procedure for those journals. But also bear in mind that really the validating concerns or to take a well-informed decisions is really complex and time-consuming. Sometimes, for example, the hijacking issues or some deceitful organizations are in between. So it's not always easy to find out what's really behind the scene. So it's taking time, and we are taking this really seriously. And the decision to potentially exclude a journal from Scopus should never be taken lightly. Sometimes it's meaning a lot to that individual journal. So, and meaning that we definitely want to avoid indexing those journals that below our criteria, but also we don't want to discontinue or stop coverage for the legitimate journals. And how we identify those poor quality or so-called predatory journals, that we are using 4 ways here, and I think 2 are mainly quantitative ways, what we call underperforming or outlier performance journals. For all the 25,000 journals that are in Scopus, we are looking at the matrix around those journals. It's either really underperforming, much lower than average, or doing outlier performance, doing so good that it's, for example, tripled or even 5 times the publication of the prior years. And for those journals, we're sending them to reevaluation. And the other 2 ways we are working at are the publication concerns. And for example, we were working closely with the Russian Academy of Sciences last year in nominating, I think, more than 50 journals that is of publication concerns, and a large proportion of them were actually discontinued later on. And another way of those, what we call qualitative, is the continuous curation, which is that we are sending certain titles when they were accepted for indexing were good, but our subject chairs do have certain concerns. For example, they were so new and they want to make sure whether the development for those journals were sustainable. Then we are sending certain titles to reevaluation. And here is the whole procedure. So basically, the journals identified for reevaluation will be sent, will be closely monitored actually, and sent to our subject chairs the time they were nominated throughout the year on a continuous basis, and our subject chairs will use the same set of selection criteria to evaluate those titles, and there are chances the journals might be discontinued for coverage in Scopus. And here is a breakdown of the titles that were reevaluated and the titles discontinued under individual category. And you can see that for certain category, we can have a high catch rate, what we call, or discontinuation rate as almost 70%. But also we are actually learning for certain monitor procedures and reevaluation procedures. For example, for the continuous curation, the discontinuation rate is not that high, meaning that most of those titles were actually operating in a very sustainable way and doing good. And then what happened with journals for which decision is made to discontinue? So definitely no new content is added to Scopus, but content already indexed will remain as a matter of scientific record, and to ensure the stability and consistency of the research and analytics. But really in exceptional cases of proven severe publication malpractice, we will remove them. Then the side score will no longer be given to those discontinued titles. Yeah, and by the way, our new side score is coming along the way, and my colleagues Hans will give another session on side score tomorrow. And then actually, we are updating our source titles quite recently for the last, I think, 2 months ago, possibly. And currently, some of you might already know that previously we are only updating our source list twice a year, which definitely have some lagging times on the titles we accepted or already have data on Scopus platform. And also for discontinued sources, right? Because, we're doing that continuously and titles might get discontinued any minute. And for that reason, we are updating our source title list on a monthly basis at the moment. And we are including the newly discontinued journals or all the discontinued journals basically in that source list, as well as the newly accepted titles, which means that even though that your title might not have any content index in Scopus, but as long as our decisions were made then your title will be shown on this source list. And here I wish to share two codes from our subject chairs on as what we see for this topic. First is from Professor Sak, who is the chair of the CSAB and also the subject chair for computer sciences, in mentioning that whether or not a journal is predatory is not a binary decision. And there is a broad spectrum of predatory journal behaviors. To assess whether a journal should be considered predatory, a number of parameters needs to be considered, and often in combination. Another one from Professor Brimbonholm, mainly on the content already indexed, is that it's clearly important to remove journals that are predatory or adopt poor publishing practices, but it is less clear what to do with the earlier content in the databases, particularly as it may have arisen in periods when the journal was well managed and represents output from well-conducted research. Yeah. And then I will spend, I think, possibly 3 minutes for the recent development. First is open access filter. And we already know that, I guess, from today's, from this conference, you might also learn a lot about the trend on open access. And Scopus strive to offer you for the good OA labeling for the article based or the article level tagging, so that you can do whatever analysis you may wish to do for the open access, or find any OA types that you wish to find. And yeah, the last slide was about the definitions of different open access content types. And even that for the search itself, we've already listed the different open access search queries, or the search examples that you can search them directly. And then for the search result, you can filter them from the filter bar, so that your search results or analysis can be more accurate, or can only based on that set of results you are looking at. And then for preprint, so you might know that preprint is a version of scholarly paper that precedes publication, and it is not peer-reviewed, and it resides on a preprint server. And it's definitely an early indication of research, but we also realize that it is not peer-reviewed content. Unlike the journals that we selected, it must be peer-reviewed publications. So to support this scenario, we mainly include this type of content in the researcher profiles, and really to give a more comprehensive overview and an early indication of this researcher. And so preprint are only available for authors that already have a peer-reviewed publication history in Scopus, which means that if you unfortunately don't have any peer-reviewed publications in Scopus, and you don't have an author profile, you cannot have that preprint document available for your profile, right? And preprint are clearly separated from the curated peer-reviewed content, and which means that neither citations to and from the preprints, no links with the final version of the articles are captured. So they are not captured. They are just shown on your profile, showing to others about some early indications or early publications of your work. And then we are working, so there are many preprint servers actually, and we only select first for the MVP, we only selected the main preprint servers like Archive, bioRxiv, ChemArchive, and medRxiv. And for SSRN, which is actually elsewhere owned preprint service, and that is being added to Scopus during actually right now. And then lastly, I want to show this roadmap. There are loads of very excellent development for Scopus, which may help you for the ease of use, for the better research signals, or the search and analytics. For example, for the ease of use, so my colleagues on the platform, they're not only working on the website redesign of what you see at the front end, but also on the back end for improving the infrastructure of Scopus platform or the API's developer portal. And for better research signals, I've already talked about preprint, and an important improvement or the addition of the content types for this year is the awarded grants. And also for the improving of the institutional profiles, I think, and also for the improving the author feedback wizard, which will help you to have more accurate researcher profiles. And last but not least is the, I've already talked about OA filters. You might already see the document view counts, which may show you how people sees your documents or index content from Scopus.com. And also the improved full text access and the 2021 Sustainable Development Goal search queries. And last but not least, about the improved search experience. So overall, for this roadmap is, again, we're aiming to help the world of research to make high-value decisions with confidence. And those development are aiming to address those key research challenges in, say, conducting the research. And we are really hoping to help you efficiently discover the most relevant research, or to identify the experts or collaborators to evaluate and demonstrate your impact, and also to assist the research strategy decision making, you know, with high confidence, or applying and analyzing the fundings. Yeah, I think that's really it. I will stop as I'm exceeding a bit of time, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Yeah. Again, although it's unfortunate I cannot attend on site, but you know, with this new technology, I would really be happy to answer questions or get in touch after this conference. Thank you.
Большое, Трэйси. Дорогие коллеги, похлопали, да? Есть вопросы? Пожалуйста, представляйте.
Уважаемая Трэйси, добрый день. Большое спасибо за интересную презентацию. Я Хилькевич Елена Григорьевна, заместитель главного редактора журнала «Акушерство и гинекология. Москва». У меня такой вопрос, даже просьба. По нашей специальности в Скопусе находится 4 журнала. Из них 3 в 4-й квартиле и 1 журнал в 3-м квартиле. Вот я проанализировала цитирование 2 журналов 4-го и 3-го квартиля и пришла к такому выводу, что большинство цитирований в журнале из 3-го квартиля идет на сам собственный журнал. И из них 90% цитирования на статьи главного редактора. Вот хотелось бы обратить внимание коллег из Скопуса на эти моменты и как-то при анализе журналов и анализе цитирования учитывать все-таки процент самоцитирования. Спасибо большое.
Yeah, thank you for the comment. I think I can say something about it, right? And yeah, thank you really for sharing that issue with us. And so for one thing, we would love to learn is that, you know, which journal is that? And if you wish, you can also share that information with our reevaluation at scopus.com. And possibly we will, you know, look at this publication concern and see if it is valid and take some certain actions. And afterwards, yeah, again, it's really around this, you know, Scopus as a trusted source. And I do know that yesterday, because I also attended David Ru's session, and you know, I think according to him that it's good that we can have now the transparent data and you know, information around all the titles. And for us, we are also at a learning pace and evolving for the content curation procedure, or namely the reevaluation procedure for all the titles indexing Scopus. And the citation behavior is also an important feature that we are looking at when we are monitoring the titles index. Yeah, and again, I think for that, from that side, we will be happy to learn what title that is and to see if we should take actions for that. But again, you know, overall, I think we are working on closely monitoring all the titles in indexing Scopus, but do bear in mind that, you know, validating those more practices takes time, and we are taking this seriously.